Hey everybody, this week's episode of Whiskey Wheels Wounds. I'm Shawn, 9-year Air Force vet.
And I'm Steve, 22-year Army veteran.
Steve, what's our featured whiskey this week?
Our featured whiskey is Big Stick. And so Big Stick whiskey.
Semper Fi.
Yeah. Um, Big Stick begins in the traditional bourbon making method. They source the finest ingredients and age them in a charred New American white oak and to the exact specification of the distiller. The distiller is Mike Ryan. His father, Tom Ryan, is a um, Korean War veteran. So that's the connection there. And every bottle of Big Stick is hold on. We initially make Big Stick bourbon at 47.5 ABV. That's 95 proof. And we symbolically pledge to donate 5% of the profits to charitable organizations that support military and their families. We love the United States of America and support with gratitude to those who serve and protect and defend our country. Um, Big Stick bourbon is ultra smooth because before bottled, they add a stick of white oak, American white oak, to the bottle. So every bottle has a stick in it, and you probably can't catch that on on camera, but it has a stick in it. And yeah, so not only is it aged in barrels, um, it you then can it also continues the aging process while in the bottle, and it comes with a spout to pour your 1 second, 2 second pours. So pretty cool.
So, their charities that they support is Canines for Warrior,
Yeah.
Warrior Surf Foundation, Camp Hope PTSD Foundation, Semper Fi 3 of Houston, Texas Memorial Honor Guard Detail, and Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation, the We Defy Foundation, and the Marine Corps Coordinating Council of Southeast Texas.
Nice.
So most of them are Marine focused, and a lot of them have to do with Southeast Texas because Big Stick is out of Katy, Texas.
Yep. And I failed to mention that. I apologize. But yeah. So today's whiskey is Big Stick.
Go big, go home.
Yeah.
What the Marines will like is Semper Fi brands. It's not just a name; it's a way of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Walk lightly, carry a big stick. That's the.
I don't know if you intended this.
I did not know when I made this the whiskey. I did not know
Because it just hit me.
right.
So we touched on this the last episode, and we decided, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So the whiskey is actually fitting, because with Big Stick,
Yes.
we are going to be talking about a very situation that sticks out like a sore thumb,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the we're going to do it with a little bit of a military flair to it because we're going to talk about some previous things in history that have led up to this. There are going to be people that are going to automatically turn us off. We're probably going to get lots of hate mail because we're this, that, or another thing. Whatever. Listen to the whole thing. Don't listen to the whole thing. We got 4 people we know will listen to it, Callahan being one of them, and then we'll go from there. I got him this time.
There you go.
So we're going to talk about the majority of the episode is going to be talked about transgender.
Yep.
We're going to highlight our opinions on individuals who transition,
Uh-huh.
um, our opinions on individuals who participate in opposite gender sports.
Uh-huh.
But I think for the military, we need to go back to don't ask, don't tell. Because that's the time in the military we came in. Clinton's don't ask, don't tell. Um, and like I said before, not including the Navy, we know there were individuals when we served that were gay.
Yes.
It was never a problem.
Right.
Like, like the guys on the ground, they don't care. Black, white, brown, we didn't care. Uh, Being in the military is one of the least racist places you will be because
For the most part.
right.
For the most
Well, because when you're in a vehicle or a foxhole or whatever, it doesn't matter what the motherfucker looks like next to you. What matters is that he's not going to shoot you in the back and he's going to engage the enemy along with you.
Right. And so the melting pot of the military is very unique because you'll have is there a fucking club going on instead? Like I feel like I should do the sprinkler fucking
The lawnmower,
fucking anyways, we got fucking club music going on upstairs apparently.
the 7-year-old's having a rave.
Yeah. So um train of thought.
Melting pot.
Yeah, the melting pot. Like you'll have people at least when I went to basic training, you had guys who never saw a black person before.
Yep.
Or never saw an Hispanic person before, never heard other than, the dialect they're from, the the different ways people ordered a pop, a soda,
A Coke.
a Coke. You know, I'd like a Coke. What kind? Mellow yellow. You're like, well, just say fucking mellow yellow. No, it's a Coke. Like, all right, whatever. Yeah, you know, on the minute level, things of that nature. I've never seen, I've never seen a black person before. I've never seen,
My graduating class was 108. In our school, my high school, when we graduated, there were 3 kids in the whole school district that weren't white. There was a half black, half white kid in junior high. And then my best friend Trevor and his brother Leon, they were half Vietnamese, half white. That was it.
um,
My town was historically known as a place that if you weren't of the Caucasian persuasion, wasn't a place that was welcoming for you to live.
yeah. Well, Martins Ferry was not like that. It's predominantly white, but um, in Martins Ferry, we had the largest black person who was, largest black child. I mean, Clarence McMillan, he was in high school 550 plus pounds.
So he was a giant.
No. Yeah, I mean, he was a big dude, but he was probably 5'11". um,
He was a cube.
I mean, if he was a giant, it would have been much better. Yeah, but if there was only one black family in Martins Ferry, and it was the McMillans, your takeaway from the McMillans would be black people are the greatest people on earth because the McMillan family, the greatest family. Shit, like I wanted to stay at his house more than I wanted to stay at mine. Um, he was the nicest dude, and his family was the nicest mom, like nicest people. Um, and so if that is, if that was your
Experience.
experience, then you're like, oh, it's like you just walk around Chicago hugging,
Yeah.
hugging people, um, and like again, I was a hip hop head, so like it. Everybody was friends with when Big C died. There was a ton of people that came to his funeral. because everybody loved him because he was that guy.
Yeah.
And um, you know, my good friend Bubba, again, um, me and him had a connection. And um, when I was a sophomore in high school and I joined the wrestling team for the first time, and he said, "You stick with me, kid, and I'll take you to state." And for 3 years, he wore my ass out. And at the end, I was at state. So he was a man of his word. And by doing so, when I graduated, I stayed and helped him wrestle. When I went off to the army and I came home and he got a head coaching job down in Belair, I went to Belair and helped him, because it was the more about the relationship we had than the one I had with my alma mater.
Yeah, the personal connection.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, so when I got the basic training, it was never a culture shock for me.
Yeah.
But there's people out there that
Yes.
it's a culture shock. There's people out there that, again, your first teacher is the person in your home that talks to you the most, right? Good, bad, or ugly.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of that shit's ugly.
Yep.
And they put their prejudice, they pass their prejudice down on you.
Yep.
And it's on you to think for yourself and say,
Both Brandy and I's families are very prejudiced. The beauty is that Brandy and I left this place.
right.
We went around the world, met a lot of different people from a lot of different walks. We raised our children completely different than the way we were raised.
Right.
We raised our children that, I mean, it sounds kind of hokey, but Martin Luther King's speech would apply to our children.
Mhm.
They measured people based on the person that it was.
Their character.
Yeah, there was no preconceived um different color skin or different religion. When my kids came back to small town Ohio from going to schools in Columbus and
Yeah.
stuff, it was a culture shock for them to come back to this.
Right.
Because my kids were, for lack of a better term, well traveled and cultured compared
Yeah.
to so when we hear things like we have a member in our organization that never has anything nice to say about the Muslim religion on Facebook. And when my kids came home and they would hear people say that, Trevor got into a lot of debates in school that turned into flat out arguments because kids would say things that were ignorant, uncouth,
Mm-hmm.
and he would stand up and he would just hammer him to the ground because you don't know. Have you ever met one?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so that was how we approached it. And it was the same thing when I was in. Like, we make fucked up jokes about, you know, you and the guy you served with that was black. The black jokes and the white jokes would fly.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that's like what I was alluding to. Like, racism don't exist in the military. Like if we were mic'd up,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like,
But that's that fucked up sense of humor.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if we were mic'd up, like someone on the outside looking in,
So-
like everybody's gay. Everybody's gay in the military. If you're like, I don't know how many heterosexual men fucking touch other dicks like on a normal.
What's the capital of Thailand?
Right.
Bangkok.
Right. On a normal basis.
Like, so, and that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Like, we knew guys that were gay.
Oh yeah.
And we might have made jokes about don't check out my ass in the shower.
Right.
But we didn't worry about getting jumped in the shower.
Right.
We made jokes about it.
Right.
So when I hear people talk about how, having openly gay people in the military was a detriment to mission readiness and
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Right.
No, that's just your ignorance talking.
Right. Facts.
And it's the same thing with individuals who have transitioned. It's not an operational deficiency if you transition properly.
Right.
And you transitioned, they say the male or the human mind, the human brain doesn't fully develop till you're in your early to mid 20s.
Mhm.
So I don't think if you're a 7-year-old, you should be transitioning.
Right.
But if you and I were serving with a dude that we found out later used to be a chick, as long as they were a dude, you know what I mean? Like if we were making jokes and
Yeah.
they kept constantly getting offended, well, that would be a problem for us because we fuck with everybody about everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I mean, like, we needed to go back to, they put a lot of emphasis on don't ask, don't tell,
Right.
and then a lot of emphasis on the repeal of don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
For the average boot on the ground, we gave 2 fucks about don't ask, don't
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Because again, not to be simple, not to simplify this. There's a lot of people you don't have to ask them. They don't have to tell you.
We're that platoon.
We're that platoons, right? You fucking know. You fucking know.
And if they have U.S. Navy, you know.
You know. I mean, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's always you'll always get into troubled water when you put a blanket over everything.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's okay for all everyone who wants to everyone who says they're transitioning to be whatever. Right. To me, it always has been and always should be about job performance. Like
Meritocracy.
like don't tell me it's okay for women to be in the Rangers, right? Tell me this woman's qualified to be in the, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to go to Ranger school, you're going to go to SF, and you're going to adhere to the standards in place of every man who have come before you and graduated that school. If you can do that,
You're a Ranger.
You excluded yourself from every other woman, and you are now part of that team. Can every woman do that? No. Right?
Just like every man can.
Right.
There's a lot of motherfuckers that try out for Ranger school and do not make it.
Most certainly.
So if you can do it, if you're a man and you can do it, there's a certain level of esteem.
Right.
If you're a woman that can do it, the
Yep.
percentage is so much smaller.
Yep.
Yeah, you're a fucking badass, lady.
Right. Yeah. But with everything else is now that we allow females to be in the infantry, we have to lower the standard. No. Right? Don't allow fucking every female that grew up fucking dipping cope in Hagen to join the fucking infantry. Like, just because they're like, I'm a tomboy. Okay, there's still standards, right? And to me, that's where the line gets skewed, right? When we're moving the standard to appease a group, whatever that group is, women, trans, gay, if we're moving the standard to appease you, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Right? I will go to war. I've said on this podcast, I wholeheartedly believe there is a place in the United States military for females. Not around me.
In your experience.
In my experience.
Right.
Not around me.
If you would have had a woman who was a hard charger that could meet the standards that you set for your guys, it probably wouldn't be as bad, but most of the women you encountered probably couldn't handle that standard.
Right. I mean, the women I encountered didn't like my
Candor.
brash nature.
Yeah.
My fucking, I don't give a fuck that you're a woman. To me, you're a fucking specialist. Pick up said item, move said item to fucking wherever I tell you to put it, and put it the fuck down. Now, right? You ain't gonna talk to me that way. Right? So yeah, that was my problem. Right? Now, I identify that's a me thing.
Yeah.
Right? But I also identify general military authority says that as a staff sergeant, as a sergeant, as a corporal, as fucking whatever the fuck, that if I tell you I'm a higher rank, I tell you to do X, Y, or Z, and it does not cause bodily harm to you to do X, Y, or Z unless we are in a situation that we are all in harm, right? Then you will do X, Y, and Z to a fucking T. And I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what fucking nationality you are, what color you are. If you, you are under my authority, then you're gonna fucking do it. And so um, the caveat, the second reason why um, there's a lot of female persuasion going on in the United States military. That ain't all women,
No, have had both.
right? That
I've
ain't
served with
all
both.
that ain't all women, but there's a lot of fucking bat in the eyes and fucking, oh, Sergeant, do I really have to do that? Right? My personality does not cater to fucking um persuasion.
Yeah. I I served with females that used the fact that they were a female to not have to do the same as the guys.
Right,
I also served with females that went above and beyond to prove they were just as good as the guys
right,
because they didn't want to be lumped in the same way as the other ones. You know,
right,
like I'm not, I remember very well. We served in McCord together. Her name was Karen, not a Karen, but she was Karen. Um, she was a petite female, but she would get out there and bust her ass on the flight line
right,
better than most of the guys because she never wanted to be lumped in with the girls that never got dirty, never got their hair messed up because they never wanted to do the dirty jobs. And we were in maintenance,
right,
like she was out to prove that she was not only the best female, but she was better than the guys
right.
too.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, in '05, I hung out with Sergeant Thomas, and I think the fact that she was gay, and I think the fact that she dipped fucking Copenhagen and she was fucking pretty much like she was a tomboy. She didn't um she how do I explain this? Like she she had masculine tendencies in a female a feminine um she projected femininity, but she was masculine. If I probably fucked that up, but anyways, no, she dipped all the fucking time. She fucking
she was a chick. You could clearly tell she was a chick,
yeah,
but
yeah,
she had a lot of guy
yeah,
mannerisms.
yeah, right. And she had a girlfriend, all that. She would be in the truck. Um, how do you feel that I get more pussy than you? And I'm like, God damn, that's fucked up. Like she's like, every time you bring me up the war horse, I'm getting laid, right? And I'm like, man, that's fucked up. Like, does your friend have any friends? Like, come on. Um, yeah, but me and her hit it off because Iraqi, she was an MP down at the booking station, and she had a problem with Iraqi men respecting her because they don't fucking respect women. And her she was a little thing, and she was really mean, but you know her bark only went so far, right? And so she, let me go find the biggest guy in the fucking building. Okay, hey, Sergeant Vickers, could you help me? Yeah, what do you need? I need these fucking guys to do what I tell them to do. I'm like, well, then tell them to do it. Yeah, they don't listen. Okay, cool. Hold on. Let me get these fucking lead filled gloves that I have that my dad used to work on shit in the mill. That if something were to fucking jump while he's working on it's a lead, and so I go get the lead filled gloves and I walk into this little room and it wasn't a Abu Ghraib situation. We didn't stand them up on fucking milk crates and put fucking probes on their balls. No. You are a prisoner. You are gonna fucking clean up trash around our fucking little AO. Period.
Work detail.
Right. Period. We're not going to demean you, all that shit. There's a female telling you what to do because there's a female in charge. Females tell other American men what to do. No, I'm not going to demean you. I'm going to tell you what to do. If you're either going to do it or I'm going to physically make you do it. Period. And one dude, he jumped up and got fucking gut punched, and then everyone fucking cleaned up trash. And I'm like, all right, the interpreter's there. I'm like, you tell them when she says to pick up trash, they pick up trash. If she makes me come down here, I'm hitting them all. And from that point on, they all picked up trash. I mean,
She understood. She identified a deficiency.
yeah,
She found a tool that would fix said
yep,
deficiency. I mean, she didn't ask you to come down and do it for her.
no, and then we fucking played Tiger Woods on we fucking because the booking station, because it was built new, and then they have to send all their reports up to fucking hire quick, fast, in a hurry. So the fucking internet was super fast in that motherfucker. So that's why I went down there and befriended them. So I have super fast internet, and I allowed my guys to come in my room and use my fucking internet. I'm like, no, take your time. I'll come back later, and I'm over there fucking
High speeding it up.
MySpacing, huh? I know that's dating me, but anyway,
That's all right.
I'm down there MySpacing, my profile. But yeah,
Picking your songs.
picking my songs, picking my fucking my little my glammed up shit. But yeah, zero problem. Even though, like, again, dudes in my company were like, "You're fucking Sergeant Thomas, right?" And I'm like, "Do you know Sergeant Thomas? Like, she don't like men." "Oh yeah, get the fuck out of here, blah blah blah." I'm like, "All right, whatever." Like, yeah, cool. Think what you want.
You're not so vain to think that you could turn her
Oh
straight.
yeah. Even though, here, I'll tell you this. Sergeant Thomas turned me on to the L Word. Right? You ever see that
Yep.
series? Right? And the L Word sparked so many fucking questions in my head, right? Like, I'm a heterosexual man. I'm always been, I've never once said, I wonder what a dick tastes like. Not once, right? Now, that don't make me better than you, but
Different strokes for different
right.
folks.
So I'm watching the L Word, and I'm like, I don't understand, right? Why women would be attracted to another woman who's dressed like a man, right? Explain that. Well, it's fucking, you're attracted to who you're attracted to. I'm like, okay, I get that. I said, but at the end of the day, like, yes, you're in a club, she's dressed like a man. When you get home, your body's going to tell on you, right? She's like, yeah, but she'll usually be packing a fucking strap on or whatever. And and I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to a club as a female, as a lesbian, to pick up a woman to come home and have sex with them, and just strictly for her to use a fucking pretend dick on you, you know what I mean?
She's pretend dressing like a man using a pretend man appendage.
Right.
Like, why does that? Why don't you just go find a dude? Right. I get your,
Now,
because you didn't know.
right.
You you were doing the deep dive into lesbianism.
That's it. Like, yeah. Right. I'm like,
I got questions.
right. I'm like, listen, like,
Did she satisfy your curiosity?
yes.
See,
And
you learned, right?
oh yeah. Yeah. And little little you don't know how ignorant you are, right? To the fact that there's people out here doing shit that you would never think of doing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And you're like, huh. Like, I I don't like to think of myself as vanilla sexually. I also don't think I have a kink, right? Like, I don't need fucking feathers or fucking whatever it is. Whatever if there's a kink out there to fucking get you turned on, my only kink is someone willing to have sex with me. You know what I mean? Like,
A
hey,
woman.
a woman. Yeah. Like, my only kink is like, hey, what do you think? You want to have sex? Yes, I'm turned on immediately, fucking immediately, right? So, yeah.
We're men. We're simple creatures.
But no, there's fucking dudes out there
Yeah,
that are not so fucking simple.
I got
You know
that.
what I mean? They need, I have to fucking choke you, and you have to wear a fucking leather hood, and fucking, you have to fucking uh march me around the fucking living room while I have a diaper on and a fucking dog collar. You know what I mean? No, men are not fucking that simple. Like, there's some fucking dudes out there that are fucking weird. However, with that being said, I have very little inhibitions. Like, there's been, very few times, if at all, that I can remember that someone said, "Hey, you think you would like that?" And I'll be like, "No, I probably wouldn't." Right? So I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I don't think of myself as closed minded. I don't think of myself as vanilla. Um, but yet, I'm I'm vanilla with sprinkles. You know what I mean? Like, there's vanilla there. You know what I mean? I'm just not. I'm just not sherbet. You know what I mean? I'm not fucking what.
You're not rainbow sherbet.
Yeah, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, huh?
You're like vanilla with some chocolate
Yeah.
sauce, maybe yeah,
Variations,
yeah,
but vanilla's the base.
yeah.
Like, we're gonna start a missionary,
You're
and we're fucking
you're like a chocolate. You're either a chocolate fudge sundae or like a banana split, depending
right,
on the day.
right. Yeah.
but
But
but vanilla ice cream and rainbow sherbet don't mix.
I mean, I mean, but again, I'm a veteran, so there's again there's some form of gay in you, in all of us, right? Like, um, Fort Riley, Kansas. My fucking wife left me, um, and I was down in the dumps. So my fucking team was like, we're gonna take Sergeant Vic to fucking out to Lawrence. Lawrence is where the fucking University of Kansas is, and opposed to Manhattan, where we were, where the University of Kansas State University was, most below standard college town in America. At least it was when I was there. Holy shit, 2 blocks the party in a fucking college town. Don't make sense to me. Anyway, so we went out to Lawrence, where Kansas is, and we did a little pre-gaming before we left, and then got in the car, shoot out the Lawrence, which is like an hour away or whatever it was, and being in the my wife just left me, so I was in a depressed state,
And a little bit of a funk.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit of funk there, um, and so I pregame pretty well. You all know me. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. I fucking overindulge often. Um, so I pregame pretty heavily. So I pregame so well that I was sitting in a fucking gay bar for probably an hour, and I had no fucking clue. Like, I was sitting at the bar and just drinking, and the the these guys went to the bar because it was like penny pitcher night, right? They're like, they were fucking E4s, E5s, and shit.
Yeah.
So, and
We don't care that it's a gay bar. We just want to have cheap drinks.
It's the penny pitcher night, right?
Which just goes to show you the mentality of military members when it comes to things like being gay and stuff. Like, we don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna get drunk on $10.
So I'm sitting at the bar. And like, my buddy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Sergeant, you doing all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like, piss. Where's the pisser at? He's like, "It's fucking over there." And I spin on the bar stool, and like, we got there like early, and it got packed by the time it's time to fucking break the seal. And I spent in, and I'm like, you bring me to a gay bar? Like, yep. And I'm like, motherfucker, right? He's like, man, we didn't think you would come if we told you. And I'm like, go to the pisser, come back, sit back down. And this guy next to me, he's like, hey, is your friend single? And I'm like, yeah, but he ain't gay. He's like, oh, honey, right? And I'm like, what? He's like, oh, he is. And I'm like, huh. And he was saying something else. And oh, let me back up. Let me back up. My buddy comes back, my buddy comes over, and this dude's hitting on him like, hey, let me buy you a drink. And my buddy's like, no, it's fine. And he's like, all right. So and then he gets his drinks and he goes, and I'm like, why don't you want to buy me a drink? He's like, you're not gay. I'm like, I'm aware of that. I'm like, neither is he. He's like, oh, honey. And I'm like, huh, right? And I'm like, you know, you can still buy me a fucking drink. You know what I mean? Now, that's me. That's 2000, right? Yeah, 99, 2000 time frame.
Either way,
Right?
20 plus years ago.
Right. We're at an event the other night, right? We're at the meet and greet the other night. And I'm up at the bar with Chrissy, and this fucking guy, I've never seen him before. She says she's never seen him before, but you know, it is what it is. Um, he starts fucking grabbing her shoulder and fucking, you know, while she orders her drink, the bartender's making it. And then once the bartender's done making it, she points at me and she's like, he's buying. I'm like, I'm like, that dude's flirting with you. Have that motherfucker buy you a drink. Why the fuck am I, you know what I mean? Like, that's my you know what I mean?
Right.
That's my mentality. Like, um, have that motherfucker buy you a drink.
Look,
I'm not going home with him. I understand that.
like the 12-5 ball when the DJ and his wife
Oh, yeah.
were going bananas on brandy.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah. So like, getting in the military, you know, it's an issue for people that are not open enough
Yeah.
to you know, again, if
And I think a lot of that has to do with the religious right, not Christianity, but the religious right.
yeah, you know,
Because there's a difference. I have an issue with organized religion. It's a whole nother spiel.
yeah, right.
But I just there's been individuals have been gay for forever and a day.
Yeah.
And there'll continue to be individuals that are gay for a forever and a day.
I'm not gay no more. I'm delivered. You ever see that video?
But
I'm not gays no more.
the reason we started there was because for a long time you had to be closeted to be gay.
Yeah.
Just because it was so socially unacceptable.
Yeah.
And then, in the military, it took into the 90s, or was it the 2000s when they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell?
I couldn't, like, I knew there was no, don't ask, like, I couldn't, it was such a non-issue with me, right? And
Yeah.
again, it didn't affect me, so I get it. Men wasn't hitting on, like, men wasn't hitting on
You
me.
couldn't even get a gay man to buy you a
right.
drink.
Like, what
In
the fuck?
Kansas, of all
In
places.
Kansas I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like,
I'm
he's
not.
like, you're not gay. I'm like, I realize that, but fuck, a
Make
free
me-
drink's a free drink.
My wife left me. Make me feel better.
You
Tell
know
me
what I
I'm
mean?
pretty.
Goddamn. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but and there's been individuals that have transitioned long before this became a hot button social item.
Right.
Um, and so those individuals, it wasn't commonly known, well known, gender dysphoria, things like that. It's been a whole ordeal for a long time.
Right.
It's just, you know, in our society today, it's let's find whatever the social thing is, and now let's all, um, and I'm going to use an analogy that Joe Rogan said on his new special. Um, the flu disappeared during COVID.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with transgender people now.
Yeah.
Gender dysphoria disappeared because transgender is the new thing. It
We've said it many times. Everything's a good concept until people fuck it up. And I think this is one of those situations where people fuck it up.
Yeah.
Like
and either promoting it or vilifying
yeah,
it.
There's people out there that were born with both reproductive systems, right?
That rumor's been going around about Jamie Lee Curtis for decades.
Right. Or they're born with tits and cock and balls, right? And I'm not trying to minimize, when I use non-truth terms. You know what I mean? Like there's people throughout history that XY chromosomes that they have both genitalia, right? Yes, right. But
biology states there will be mutations.
Yeah,
it happens.
Right.
Just like you can look at a family with two siblings with the exact same parents, and they don't look anything alike.
Right.
There are genetic mutations that happen.
Yeah. And I don't claim to be smart enough to figure out all this shit, but my problem with transgender people, and it's not.
I'm going to quote something you say all the time.
Okay.
There's levels to this shit.
There's it's an onion, right?
Yeah.
Like
if you look like me and you're a man,
mm-hmm.
and you have been struggling with gender identity,
mm-hmm.
and I come in tomorrow and I'm dressed like a woman, that doesn't automatically make me a woman.
Right.
It makes me a man who's dressed like a woman.
Right.
And eventually, if I stick to the road, I will eventually become said woman.
Right.
I'm not so vain to think that even after you've had a sex change, that you're not a man anymore. Because if you've had a sex change, you ain't a man anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if you've ever seen how they do the process. It's graphic. I don't understand how anyone would want to go through that. So if your gender identity is so tormented for you that you go that route, you are dedicated to what you're trying to do, because that is crazy.
Because because you're going from the curtain rod to the curtains.
Yeah. Vaginoplasty. like I'm gonna get a little graphic here. Like they slit that motherfucker down like a microwaved hot dog.
Open up.
And then tuck it inside, and
you go from Nathan's to Arby's real fast. You know what I mean? Again,
like you're dedicated. You know what I mean?
Again,
so
I'm giggling, right?
Because we're idiots.
Just saying,
we have fucked up senses of humor. Which is why you look at our text message group. We fucked up.
Yeah, but. Yeah, you go from a Nathan's hot dog to Arby's roast beef.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, that's what I'm saying. You want me, I don't know, like some would say, well, I shouldn't have to convince you. I should tell you and you should believe me. No.
Especially in today's world where everything is a scam or misinformation or everybody's trying to get one off on somebody else. Like, you can't take people at face value anymore. You can't.
Like in day to day, I run into someone. If I run into someone in the mall, which I'm never in the mall, but you run into someone in the mall, and you say, like if you're going out of your way to dress like a woman, I'll say, ma'am, right? I'm not gonna purposely say, hey, sir, because even if you turn around and you have a fucking beard, right?
You're putting forth an effort.
Yeah, right. I I I will tell you, my wife will tell you, I'm an asshole, right? I don't try to be, I just am, right? But I also, my pet peeve is inconsiderateness, right? That's my number one pet peeve, that people put like fucking, I'd rather you push your brake than me push my brake, but I'm gonna cut in front of you, right? That type shit. That, fucking inconsiderateness. So I would be hypocritical if I wasn't considerate, right? Or I was inconsiderate to what you're trying to portray, right? I'm not portraying nothing. This is my okay, I get it, right? And in everyday life, it doesn't fucking matter. If you're a man, you're a woman, it don't matter. If you're one of the other 200 fucking genders. For this discussion, we'll only talk about two, right? But it doesn't matter, right? Because it doesn't take any more time out of my fucking life to call you whatever you need called to fucking appease yourself, right? With that being said, when you being a man, when you being a woman impacts someone else's life,
Because now you're not being considerate.
now we have to have a discussion,
Right.
right? Now we have to discuss.
Like if I encounter someone and they say, I would prefer that, if I said, I seen someone and I said something, sir, and they're like, no, I would prefer it if you call me ma'am. Hey, not a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're screaming at me because I misgendered you and you're
Yeah.
no, see,
And
at that point, you're not. I made a mistake.
yeah,
You're being an asshole.
right. And now chances are I'll probably call you fucking sir or ma'am, whatever you
I'm
were
going to
yelling at.
intentionally be a dick to you.
Right.
Right.
Now, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
So if individuals that are trans that aren't fucking so vain that they have to scream at people to get their point across,
right.
you know what I mean? They're living their life the best that they know how, and they're trying to get through said life,
Uh-huh.
and they're not cramming. I say all the time that religion is like your penis. You're not supposed to show it off in public, and you're not supposed to cram it down your kid's throat. Transgender is the same way.
You need to tell me this shit off fucking air so I can. God damn. I mean, that's holy
So,
shit.
but and so I look at transgender like that.
I mean,
You know what
that's
I
a
mean?
pretty good fucking analogy.
Like,
Yeah.
like you don't have to belittle people to make yourself better. You
Yes.
don't have to force your thought process on someone else. You can identify where someone is making you uncomfortable, address that with said person. If said person continues to do what they do, then you're not going to change their mind. There's no sense screaming and yelling at
Right.
them. You know what I
And
mean?
and
And that's the problem with cancel culture.
right. And here's the other thing, like, a lot of times people will say, I go through this all the time. It's a every day, every person I meet, it's the same thing. I have to keep telling people because you're trying to change how society has been, right, wrong, or indifferent. You're trying to change society's norms in a moment,
Yeah.
right? And then what happens is, I tell you, hey, Shawn, from now on, I want you to call me Stephanie, right? Well, the first couple times, you're not going to call me Stephanie because you're not used to it.
Yeah. Or
Right.
I'll be like, shit, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. So, and then, I'll say, dude, call me Stephanie. And then, you'll mess it up. He'll mess it up. But just because you mess it up, when he messes it up, I can't bite his fucking head off, or I can't bite the next person's head off. Oh, this happens to me every day. Like, you have to take each person for face value.
because in general, people try to be polite by using things like sir
Yeah.
and ma'am,
Yeah.
and if I'm holding the door for some women, I'll be like, "Here you go, ladies."
Yeah.
Come on through, sir. It's respect that we were taught as children, and it was damn straight hammered home when we enlisted.
Yep.
So we're not trying to misgender you, mislabel you, or what is it?
Mispronoun you.
Yeah, verbal assault or whatever the fuck they call it. It's an honest mistake. Do you know how many people I've talked to on the phone that I've called ma'am or sir, and they've been the opposite because their voice was deeper or higher?
Yeah.
And the individual usually either just ignores what I say,
Right.
or says, hey, I'm blah blah blah. I'm so sorry.
Right.
And I'll usually be like, my phone's fucking up. You sound deeper than but I try to minimize.
Right.
Because I feel like a douche. Because I'm not trying to
Right.
fuck someone's day up. It's a force of habit to identify someone with a respectful term other than "Hey, you."
Yeah, but but there's also people out there that they wake up every morning to fucking piss people off. They wake up every morning to get on fucking Facebook, don't do a lick of fucking research about anything, and they just fucking repost fucking other people's ignorant shit, right?
And then on the opposite side of that, you have people that wake up every day to be offended.
Right.
You have people that wake up every day to offend people, and people that wake up every day to be offended. And then you got all of us stuck in the middle getting our asses hammered by both sides.
Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, really? Really? Yeah, and you can't have it both ways.
Nope.
Nor should you. Um, I don't see where it again, I preference all the time with I'm coming from this from middle-aged white man perspective. That's the only perspective I got.
Yeah.
And
I mean, your experiences shape your perspective, but you're still coming at it from the most basic concept of I'm an almost 50 white dude.
Because someone will point that out. Well, you don't know. You can't talk about abortion because you don't know. I'm like, well, I don't know. I had a planned child with a woman I was married to, and she decided to fucking stir that motherfucker up with a clothes hanger. So I have a pretty good fucking
I have two
history on abort. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I preference that with saying, everybody out there, well, fucking white men, white men are the fucking we're the evil.
What I've been referred to as a white cis male, which I don't understand what the fuck that means.
Right.
And also toxic masculinity. Again, I don't understand that because by definition, being masculine is not soft and cuddly, and you know what I mean? Like masculinity is supposed to be hard and jagged and like hunter gatherer type shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
My issue with the transgender, I'm going to call it the transgender movement right now. So it makes it easier for me I have three major issues. One is the one we were just talking about, the social aspect of it, of forcing me to call you something that you're not.
Right. To appease you.
Right. And I don't mean asking me to, I mean forcing.
Right.
Where you're saying things like mislabeling my gender is assault.
Right.
All right. So the second problem I have is with children. Growing up, we had friends who would wear girls' clothes or would pretend to be a guy. Because when you're a child, you're trying to figure your shit out.
Right.
The human brain doesn't fully develop till you're in your early to mid 20s. You can't legally vote until you're 18. You can't legally get a drink until you're 21. You can't buy a handgun until you're 21. You can't take certain drugs until you're of age. But we can let 4-year-olds determine what gender they are and then go through the process of chemical castration, because that's what those drugs were used for,
Mm-hmm.
on children. Like, that's the part that I don't, that to me is child abuse. But we have gotten so far skewed in society now that there are laws on the books in places like California where if you don't allow your child to be what gender they say they are, that's committing child abuse. And I think that is crazy.
Yeah.
That school districts don't have to tell you if your children are identifying as the opposite gender while they're at school. That is crazy.
Yeah.
If you're not old enough to vote, you're damn straight not old enough to pick whether you want to be physically, mentally, and emotionally scarred for the rest of your life when you're a child.
Right.
I mean, if Nova came home from school and said she was a guy, you would let her work through it because eventually it would be a phase. Because that's what most kids do. Now, if she's 19 years old and she's still identifying as a dude, okay, that's different.
Right.
So that's my second. That's the second issue, but one of the biggest. But the thing that really chaps my ass the most, and this is the one that really is the most blatantly obvious to most people, is men who compete in women's sports because they are transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just look at the basic biologies of it. If you're a man and you've gone through male puberty, you are genetically, physically superior to a woman at the basic level.
Right.
Your bones are denser and longer. Your muscle mass is different. Your lungs are bigger. Men are just built differently than women when they've gone through puberty because your body gets fucking hammered with testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Those physical changes don't change because you decide to be a woman.
Right.
So I don't think that transgender males should compete with males. I don't think transgender males or females should compete with females. I think there should be a different classification for them. And the reason why is the whole thing with women's sports was created to give them a place to compete on an equal playing field because they weren't competing equally with the men. Because there is a huge difference between what they can do physically. Are there some women that can out physical men? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is an exception, not the rule.
Right.
So that's my issue there, wholeheartedly. Don't look, a lot of these feminists are touting or are bemoaning the patriarchy and how men are this and men are that. But in the same breath, they're celebrating a woman who transitions to a man who transitions to a woman as being a hero, a warrior. They've even gone so far as to name them like Woman of the Year. I'm sorry, but if I'm a feminist, I hate the transgender movement because it looks like men are telling women that we're so good at being men that we're actually better women than you are. Because how many records are being broken by transgender athletes in women's sports? And if it's so important for you to compete, why don't we see more transgender males competing in men's sports? Why? Because they're smart enough to know that it's not a fair comparison.
Mm-hmm.
You can go from being the 450th best swimmer in the US in college athletics to being the best female swimmer and set all the records once you transition.
Right.
But you can't go from being the best female swimmer, transition to a male, and still compete at that level. Because guess what? The 450th swimmer is blowing away women. So you're going to be way lower than the 450th.
Right.
I honestly believe that this whole thing is, I don't care if they're truly gender dysphoric, transgender, identify, whatever. I think that they should not be allowed to compete. You know what? If you don't identify as a man anymore, great, but you're not competing in women's sports. So you either keep competing in men's sports or you don't compete at all. Because you're not, it is blatantly obvious you are looking for a competitive advantage. Plain and simple. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There isn't one sport that men who transition to women and are competing against women in where the male physical nature of their body doesn't give them an upper hand.
Yep.
Combat sports, running, swimming, weightlifting, wrestling. Like it boggles my mind. You don't see any trans males out there competing in gymnastics because it's not a competitive advantage for them in most gymnastics events.
Right.
You don't see them out there competing in I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. That's the one of the biggest takeaways I have is that it is a blatant way of being mediocre at best as a man and then getting to be the greatest ever as a female, but you're not, bro.
And this argument this argument as you know humanizing you know we're you know if you want to live your truest self, and your truest self is a swimmer. I'm a swimmer. Okay. Take your motherfucking ass in your one piece to the fucking YMCA and swim your fucking heart out. Right? Like, if there is no reason, right, to compete unless you want to be competitive. There's no reason to be competitive if you don't want to win. And that's just the competitor in me. Like the notion that we should allow a man who still has his fucking genitals to walk around a female locker room and expose himself to females.
Because if he did that outside of that locker room, that's a crime.
Right. But just because he says, right, I'm a female. Prove it. Prove I'm not. All right. Let me let me draw a tube of blood. You know what I mean? You know, you know,
you have the round peg, they have the round hole.
You know,
see?
right.
Same, but different.
So okay. So yesterday, when you were swimming against the men, what made you swim against the men? What made you swim against the men? Right? Something made you swim against men.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was a man yesterday. I'm not a man today. That ain't how that fucking works. You know what I mean? Now, if you take the steps, right, to fucking lop the CMBs off, right? Now you're telling me I'm changing my outward appearance to match my inner appearance, right? How I feel inside. Okay, I'm down with that. Now, also, it ain't just lopping your fucking cock and balls off. Like, you have to get your testosterone level down to where it's equal with the females around you.
But the problem is even if they do all of that, they're still fundamentally
their muscle fibers are different.
They're still operating at a different level that, like,
facts.
Yeah. I had a daughter who played sports, all right? I would have lost my mind if my son would have said he wanted to be a girl so that he could participate in girl sports, just so he would have a competitive advantage.
Right.
That's wrong to me.
Yes.
In so many ways, that's wrong.
Right.
And that's why I say trans males, women who transition to being a male, you don't see them at the forefront of the playing on the opposite gender sports because they know there's not a competitive advantage there.
Right.
If a trans male is competing in male sports, they're doing it for the love of the competitive nature.
Right.
They're not doing it to be the best. They're not doing it
Right.
to you know what I mean? Like
Right.
there's no competitive advantage
There's
that
not
way.
a high likelihood that they'll win.
Right. They're out there to just be an athlete and to compete
Right.
and they know that they're not going to be a record breaker.
Right.
So I can't celebrate these trans women who used to be men as they're breaking women's records in athletics because you're not a fucking you're not the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
And how so as a girl dad, which I am, how do I would like feminists to tell me, how do I tell my daughter, you train as hard as you want at whatever sport you want, and if a man chooses one day to fucking compete against you, you have to let him.
yeah,
Come on.
no. And that's where it's not a matter of estrogen levels or testosterone levels or anything else. If you have been through male puberty,
Yeah.
you should automatically be excluded from competing in women's sports.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, because it's the one of the when they brought this up in Congress, and it's always a gotcha game in fucking Congress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they set the experts out at the table, and then Congress is sitting up here at their fucking desk, and the one congressman was like, "So you're telling me tomorrow, if Mike Tyson said I'm a woman, that he should be allowed to fight against other women?" You know what I mean? And the expert on the other side was like, if he feels that and I'm like, we're not dealing with fucking feelings here.
There's a whole lot of grown men that don't want to get into the ring with 58-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah, we're not dealing with feelings.
Could you imagine 20-year-old Tyson deciding to box women? Oh God.
Right. But
Ooh. I just, to me, that is the biggest game of gaslighting,
Yeah.
to use a term, that I've ever seen. We are supposed to pretend that there's not a difference there. And a lot of this is coming up again because of the boxer at the Olympics.
Right.
That Italian boxer quit after 46 seconds.
Yeah.
Because she was getting hit by an individual who had been through male puberty.
Right.
And you can tell the difference. If you punch a man and you punch a woman, you are going to do drastic more damage to a female than you would a man because of the genetic makeup of the physical biological makeup of their bodies.
Right.
It's men and women are equal, but they're not equal at the biological level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yes, we could do similar jobs. Yes, we can do similar things. We shouldn't treat women as substandard. We talked about this in the episode about property and stuff like that. Like, women shouldn't be treated differently than men, but they need to have their own competitive space. That's why women's sports were formed.
Yeah.
What is it? Title IX, Title X?
Yep, Title IX.
And as we allow men, genetic men, and biological men into that space, it's no longer a safe competitive space for women. So why does it even exist?
And it's the same women who complain about the pay gap, right? Why are men, why is the NBA players getting paid different than WNBA players? Well, the NBA brings in more revenue.
So now this year you got Caitlin Clark, who has really revamped women's college basketball, or invigorated women's college basketball,
Right.
and by extension, the WNBA.
Now that she's there, yes.
She was offered a much larger contract to go play in Ice Cube's 3-on-3 or Big
Yep.
Three, and she turned it down to go to the WNBA, where she was going to make significantly less.
Right.
So she shows up. Now all of a sudden, games are being sold out. People are really into the WNBA. They're not taking fucking commercial flights. They're getting chartered. Like, she has brought a whole new life to the WNBA.
Yes.
And what has her fellow athletes done?
Shit on her. And plus, with all that being said, the WNBA is still losing money.
Yeah.
Hand over fist. So it's not apples and apples. You know what I mean?
They're losing less money this year than they ever had before,
Yeah,
but they're still not to NBA, NFL, MLB level.
The NBA subsidizes the WNBA. I mean,
and that should tell you something, that the WNBA or the NBA is willing to subsidize a league that is historically cost prohibitive.
Yeah, it's
to give women an equal space to be competitive.
The WNBA has lost money in every year of its existence.
And they still have it because it wouldn't be fair to put those women on a court with the NBA men. It just wouldn't be fair.
Right.
So if that should tell you everything you need to know, if they're going to put that kind of money into a league that is historically crappy investment to make sure that women have a competitive professional space, even they can see the difference.
Right.
You know? Like, God bless, man. Because ultimately it's all about money.
And you're absolutely right. And it's that terminology gets me, like, now we have to change words to fit fucking, like, it ain't, we don't call people mothers. We call them birthers, or fucking, because people have pushback on men that can have babies. Men can have babies, and you're like, when in the history of ever can a man have a baby?
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
And then there's like, well, we're gonna call them, we're not gonna call them mothers,
birthing parents or something like that.
Yeah, birthers. And you're like, if you have to change around words to appease your argument, you're fucking losing.
Yeah.
So yeah, fucking let's stop. Yeah. Because it's no, it's just, come on. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have a baby. Have a baby. If you have the ability to have a baby, have a baby.
If not, adopt.
There's plenty of cis women who are unable to have children, right? So they're unable, you know what I mean? They're unable to have children. Does that make them less than a woman? No. Because you're because you're a person that believes you're a man and you're able to have a child, does that make you less of a man? Yeah. That's, believe the science until the science don't fit my narrative, and then we'll change words. Like, come on. And now,
just understand, if you're a trans man who used to be a woman and you look like a man and I call you sir, and then you come in and you have a 9-month pregnant belly, I'm fat. Right. I look vastly different than a pregnant female.
Right.
Okay. You come in with a 9-month pregnant belly, I'm going to have a hard time calling you sir, because you're about to be a mom.
Right. Well, Brittany Griner, her wife just had their first child, and a reporter said, you're about to be a mama. And and she said, Pops. Baby's gonna call me Pops. So, that's, again, which brings me to Brittany Griner, right? Has already had top surgery, breast gone, very deep voice, right? Why is she still allowed to play in the NBA if she identifies as masculine, right? Like,
because there's no competitive advantage to go to the NBA.
that's what I'm saying. Why are you not excluded? Like, you don't have to go to the NBA. Why are you not excluded from playing? You know what I mean? Like, if you want people to call you pops, well, a word is not gender specific.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure if you say the wrong word,
well,
they're gender specific real fucking quick to tell you you
when she
misgendered them.
called you a mama, right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, it's pops.
So is that kid going to grow up thinking he's got two moms? Or is that kid going to think he's grown up with a mom and a dad? So then that kid goes to school and he says something about his dad, and they're going to be like, dude, your dad plays at the WNBA. He's not really a dad.
Right.
And that whole kid's fucking world's going to come
right.
barreling down.
But it goes to your point where, women who transition to being a man, they're not going to the NBA. Like, now, Brittany Griner had said she would ball out against men in the NBA. And men in the NBA, DeMarcus Cousins was like, bring that shit over here. I'll hurt your feelings quick. Like, this ain't the same shit, right?
Yeah.
But
what's his name with the Celtics? I may not have been.
Oh yeah.
I may not have been the best.
The white mama, mama, bring that shit over here.
I may not have been the best, but I was still good enough to get a ring.
Right.
So come on to the gym.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, fucking white mama. But yeah, like I do not think less of Brittany Griner.
No.
Right. She has every right to do whatever the hell she wants to do. And if her organization allows her to do that, but like, I don't know if she's taking testosterone. I don't know.
And if she is, I'm pretty sure testosterone is considered a performance enhancing drug.
Pretty sure.
So she would be failing the doping tests.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty sure if the rest of the females were taking testosterone and they're not transitioning, that would be a no-no.
Yeah. So, right. That would be an unfair advantage for her. Now, I don't know.
Right.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if you're in the WNBA and identify as a man, should you be allowed to play in the WNBA? All right. Does that preclude you from playing basketball ever again? Right. Like,
I just think that what's the term I'm looking for here? Okay, I'm going to use something I know very near and dear to me, and I talked about it before. Special Olympics.
Right.
You have to have some type of developmental disability. Oh, sorry. The spirit of Special Olympics started by what is it? She was a Shriver. I can't. She was a Kennedy.
Maria.
No, that's the one that Arnold was married to. Yeah. Eunice. Right. Anyways, she started the Special Olympics to give individuals with developmental disabilities like Down syndrome and stuff a place to be competitive in sports because they can't be competitive against typical individuals in athletics because of their developmental disability. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same.
Right.
Jason wanted to run track in high school. Took him to the track for his first practice. I picked him back up. He was sitting by himself. I said, "What's the matter?" "I'm not coming back." "Why aren't you coming back?" "Because I'm not fast like the Flash." Because he got out on the high school track, and all of those kids, even the slower ones, were significantly faster than him because you just can't run the same. So Special Olympics was created to give individuals with developmental disabilities a place to compete.
Right.
Now, we have gone so far now is that if you had an IEP in school for some type of learning disability, it can be dyslexia. you are allowed to compete in Special Olympics. I don't think that's right.
Right.
Because dyslexia does not affect any of your physical capabilities.
Right.
So now you have individuals that are getting to play on Special Olympics teams, and they're overtaking the teams because they're the better athletes because they weren't dealt the same challenging hand
physically
right. as someone else.
Right.
So that's what we've done there. And you can see it in the product that's put forth. Mm-hmm. Yes, are Special Olympics games more competitive and things like that? I'm sure they are. But that doesn't mean they meet the spirit of what Special Olympics is. That's why I coach Jason's Division 5 team, because that is the spirit of Special Olympics. And you've been to one, you know.
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing with women's sports now.
Yeah.
It should be a safe, competitive space for women to be able to compete in athletics because they don't have the same physical characteristics as the men do to compete in men's sports. And now we're letting non-biological females compete in women's sports, and they are destroying women's records, and they are pushing the competitive nature of women's sports completely out the window because women can't compete at that level. It's the same thing I see in Special Olympics that we're seeing in women's sports now. And pretty soon, there's not going to be a safe, competitive space for anybody. Just make it all one.
Yep. And, the caveat, I am a competitor. I am disabled. Why do I not go compete in the Paralympics? I qualify, but
if you had to get on the mat and wrestle a guy in the Paralympics who either didn't have either of their legs or didn't have an arm or was paralyzed or something like that, and you won, you would not feel great.
You wouldn't. No.
And if you lost, you'd feel even horrible.
Robles? No. Is that his name? Anthony Robles? Arizona State. He won he won nationals, Arizona State. I want to say Robles. With no legs, right? That's an anomaly. You know what I mean?
Well, and I remember I read some stuff about, might have been a high school kid that didn't have
I wrestled a high school kid with a half an arm. He was a below the elbow amputee, was born that way. Not amputee, he was born that way. Let me tell you, when he clamped down that fucking wing on you.
Well, what I was reading where they were saying that because he didn't have legs, and that's where you carry a lot of your weight.
Yeah.
If he was wrestling in the 160-pound weight class, his 160 was a lot different than a kid he was wrestling that was 160.
And this dude, he was a lot strong. Now, again, you have to move yourself around on your hands will naturally make you strong.
Yeah.
On your arms will naturally make you strong. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like if he had legs, he would not have been competing in the 125 that he was.
Right.
He was competing in 125 because he was missing half his body. Right. So, I mean,
and it's also the article I read highlighted how the disability gave them a competitive advantage in a sport like wrestling, where they can't shoot on him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Leverage.
Yep.
Leverage and the ability to get lower than.
I was not a wrestler.
Right.
I was a parent. I watched a little bit of it when they're on in the center of the mat.
Referee's position.
And one's got one of them, and they got to escape.
Referee's position.
No legs there is a huge advantage.
Right.
What are you supposed to hang on to?
But I wouldn't go as far to say having no legs was a competitive advantage. You know what I mean? Like, I would say the tables were at least even, right? Like all those. allowed him to do all these things. But it's one of those things where uh, Thomas Gilman, which he ended up being a world medalist. Um, Hell, he might have been a world champion in wrestling. Um, he lost to Robles in the finals. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, fuck, man, I lost to a guy with no legs. You know what I mean? Now, Anthony Robles is an anomaly to every other kid that don't have legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, you know, but that, yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like, I personally wouldn't wrestle, even though I'm disabled, right? And I like to call myself functionally disabled. Um, and I said that on a fucking dating site one time, and my ex-wife, she got a kick at it. But
You're disabled, but you're functional.
I'm like
We're
I
not
think I
we're
think that
not broken, we're bent.
well, I think that's my problem half the time is because I don't project to people how fucking broken I am, and that's why friends of ours were like, "Hey, I have a pallet of fucking 40-pound bags of fucking cement. Can you come over and lug them for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I got you." And he's like, "Well, I invited a bunch of people, and then when I show up, it's just me and him." He's like, "I'll run the tractor, you throw the cement." Cool, I got it. You know what I mean? And I said it that day. I'm like, man, I need to start telling people how fucking disabled I am. Um,
Well, part of it is you don't want to think of yourself as disabled because then you're like, well, that kind of dictates what I can and can't do. It does dictate what you can and can't do.
right,
If you were smart,
right,
you would understand your limits because you're
right,
disabled and not,
yeah,
I do the same thing. Like my uncle gets a kick out of the fact that my big fat ass is crawling all around and underneath. And
yeah,
now I can't walk later, but I'm still changing brakes and doing this and doing that. And,
and it's like I was. I would tell people. I would tell people all the time. Like guys, it being today's August 7th, National Purple Heart Day, and when I was deployed, guys would be like, "Oh, you think this gets me a Purple Heart?" And I'm like, why are we worrying about, why are we, if it does, it does. If it don't, it don't. You know what I mean? And initially, me getting blown up didn't pass the the
process.
the it didn't pass. There's a word I'm looking for. Yes, thanks, Duke. The criteria, right? Um, Even though, so I took some shrapnel, um, you know, and it had to be an open wound or some shit. Then once it came out that my neck broke, and then we're like, all right, that's an easy one. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I mean, it's the Purple Heart and the POW medal are probably the two that nobody strives to get. You know what I mean? Like something has to go wrong for you to get either one of those. Um, but I tell people like, um, would you be okay walking through Walter Reed with your Purple Heart on? You know what I mean? If the answer is yes, then fucking, you know, go stand on the mountaintops and yell at people that you don't have a Purple Heart. But if the answer is fucking no, like, oh yeah, I wouldn't do it. Fuck, them dudes are fucked up. I'm not,
And well, that goes back to things I've said before about my combat veteranness isn't the same as other combat veterannesses. Just because you qualify for a Purple Heart doesn't mean your Purple Heart is the same as any other Purple Heart. That's
right,
not what I'm saying.
right,
but the circumstances surrounding your Purple Heart isn't the same as everybody else's.
Right.
You know, if you got blown up, shrapnel, fucked up your shoulder, got a broken neck,
Yep.
you earned a Purple Heart.
Right.
Was it Travis Mills? Quadruple amputee.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
His Purple Heart,
Yeah.
way different.
Right.
Still the same,
Right.
but the circumstances surrounding that completely different.
Right.
You would have a hard time standing next to Travis Mills and being like, yeah, our Purple Hearts are the same.
Right.
Like, yes, they are, but
Right.
there's levels to this shit.
There are, and then and then to come to find out at the end of after I retired, guys were asking me to write statements for them when we served in 05 and 07. They're like, hey, you remember that time? I'm like, ooh, like, and they're like, I needed. They've changed their criteria for Purple Hearts for head injuries. And I was like, well, shit, I can have 5 fucking Purple Hearts. I mean, fuck, being knocked out, being, concussed, all that shit. They're issuing Purple Hearts now, which they should, right? Because, IEDs, it's a totally different animal. And I could do a whole podcast about IEDs and what it does to the body.
Yeah, well, and those are like you say, those unseen wounds can sometimes be horrible.
Yeah, right. And yeah, and then no one knows the extent of my brain injury, right? Well, because you ain't got no fucking no, you know what I mean? Like, you can't detect CTE, right? The whole fucking trigger word from the NFL
Until after you're dead.
until after you're dead, and they do an autopsy and cut your brain open. So I won't know the damage of the 20 fucking IED attacks that I was in. You won't know. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm fucking damaged. Like, I'm pretty sure. Like,
So are you planning on having your brain checked after you're dead?
I mean, I don't think anybody would give a shit.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they have gotten so far in what they understand about CTE because guys have willingly said,
Yeah,
use my brain to
right.
try to research this to make
I
things
mean,
better.
I'm not no Mike Webster or Junior Seau. So I mean, now if having my brain dissected will help the next combat engineer doing route clearance, and I would absolutely do that. Well, I'm giving up all my fucking organs to science anyways, or fucking, I mean, I don't need them no more. But, um, you know, but yeah. So
So
in
And-
recapping,
in recapping,
it's one thing.
it's a nuanced conversation
Yeah, I
that
think
needs to be taken on a case by case basis.
right, and I think it's easy to label someone you're trans phobic, and I'm like, no, like
I'm not afraid of trans people.
no, not at all. And it's my only problem with anybody is when you try to shove anything in my face, right? My only problem with anybody.
And now you have a new description for that.
Right. Right. Man, very colorful description. But
The words weren't even out of my mouth, and you completely had the visual, didn't you?
Hit the fucking point. Yeah. But yeah, that's my problem with anything. You know what I mean? Like, I will be considerate to you until you're inconsiderate to me, and then it's game on.
And my problem isn't with trans individuals.
No.
My problem is we need to draw a line.
Right.
We need to not do trans procedures. Allow them to be who they are.
Right.
But don't physically change them while they're a child.
Right. Agreed.
Okay. Trans
And
in women's sports is not acceptable either.
yeah. And well, um I would also put um trans surgery. I would think I category what's the word, categorize?
Categorize.
Yeah, categorize um transitional surgery as elective,
Yes.
right?
To a point.
Right.
The
Again,
fact that they're using it as a life-saving surgery to get these kids these surgeries before they're old enough is hugely detrimental,
right.
and it's
The
fraudulent.
the life saving aspect of fucking changing your gender doesn't make sense to me. Like saying it's life, like um, because of the fact, and I'll say this, because of the fact you say my genitals don't make me, does not confirm my identity, my gender, but I need to lop off my genitals to affirm my gender identity. Right? Like,
Yeah.
no, like, so if I can't look at you and say, oh, you have women genitals, so I'm gonna call you ma'am. No, I'm a sir. Okay. Then, I look at you, you have male genitals, and I say, hey, sir, no, I'm a ma'am, but I need to do surgery to lop off my fucking cock and balls so I can affirm my identity. Now, what the fuck's the difference?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't be a hypocrite. That's what it boils down to, don't be a fucking hypocrite. You know what I mean?
And to piggyback on that real quick on the military side, transition surgery is a surgery you can get in the military now.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I just
Which gives you an unfair advantage. And then not like I know female veterans are gonna be like, women in the military is an advantage over a male. Let me just throw this scenario out, right? Let me just throw this out there. Because fucking PT is king in fucking uh uh all boards at all levels. PT score is the number one fucking question, the number one thing to look for on any board on any level.
it has been said numerous times on this podcast. You can have 7 DUIs as long as you got perfect PT score.
Yep. So you're telling me because I'm not getting promoted to E6 because I'm fucking fat and I can't pass a PT test. If I fucking say, all right, I'm now a chick, I immediately I go from not passing a PT test to damn near maxing my PT test.
Because again, there's a difference.
There's a fucking difference. And the weight standard, now you have to tape me differently. Right? And my waist and my hips and my, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because women carry their weight in different places than men do, so they get taped differently than men do.
So now I'm not fat anymore.
Yeah, because a woman would have a hard time meeting the male tape standard.
Yeah.
Because it's different.
Right.
Like it just is.
Now, the height and weight standard 600-9 is fucking ridiculous in the Army, and the way we tape people, stupid, right? And you're not getting an accurate body fat measurement.
No, it's just an easy way to do a bunch of people at once.
But it is what it is. That is the standard.
Yep.
This is, but that's what I'm saying. You were talking about a advantage. Now, would women be like, you know what? I'm tired of getting fucking a 350 on my PT score. I'm gonna say I'm a man so I can go max the 180. No, that ain't fucking happening, right? But Jesus Christ, or fucking old girl who fucking espionage I can't think of her name, but when she was in the military, she was a male, and then when they sent her to jail, she's like, oh, by the way, I feel like a female, so I'm gonna do time in female jail.
Well, that's a problem they're having in California right now. Men who identify
That's one of the problems.
well, but I'm saying men who identify as female are being put in female prisons.
Yeah,
They're having a problem with STDs and other things, sexual assaults, because they're criminals.
right,
They're obviously not going to tell the truth.
right.
And
It's lighter time. It's a you put a male that who was a man at any point in his life in a female prison. It's a lighter sense.
I personally would think it would be more hellish.
I'll be around all the women.
Bro, you get that many women together, they're all going to cycle together? Fuck that, man.
But I'm just
Don't put my ass in solitary. You're in a prison with 400 women and they all cycle together? That kill me now. Damn. Plus, my wife already rides my ass like there's no tomorrow. I don't think I can handle 400 women telling me what to do all the goddamn time. I'll lose my shit. Go put me in solitary.
And that's why we're A, not in prison, and B, we don't think we're women.
Exactly.
So this week's
fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
We're gonna go to the lovely United States Marine Corps.
Yes.
Here we go. So we are going to talk specifically about
how did we talk for an hour and 40 minutes about goddamn trench? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just talking out.
I did forget my line. I'm going to use this real quick.
I'm thinking out loud.
Because I said it last time. The line from Ted applies so much in a lot of ways in this conversation.
Okay.
There's no chicks with dicks. There's just dudes with tits.
Yep.
All right. A judge sentenced Liam Collins, 25, and Justin Wade Hermanson, 25, 1 year, 9 months. Oh, sorry. Liam got 10 years. The other guy got 1 year, 9 months. Both men, prior Marines, were part of a neo-Nazi group that sought to destroy transformer substations and other components of the power grid at about a dozen locations across Idaho and its surrounding states. Okay, first of all, is anyone surprised that the neo-Nazi group was doing things in Idaho?
No.
Because, a lot of those crazy militia groups are up there in Idaho.
I hear there's a lot of whites in Idaho.
Yeah, right? So check this out. I'm going to read this little blurb here. As part of a self-described modern-day SS, these defendants conspired, prepared, and trained to attack America's power grid in order to advance their violent white supremacist ideology. These sentences reflect both the depravity of their plot and the Justice Department's commitment to holding accountable those who seek to use violence to undermine our democracy.
When did white people not like power?
I don't know.
Ain't that their white power is in their fucking, that's their slogan, right? Why would they kill power? I don't understand. Go ahead.
There was another dude, James Chrischuk, 38 of Boise, 6 years, 6 months. Now, we had the two Marines, right? Two other men were previously convicted in the plot. Joseph Marino, a member of the New Jersey Army National Guard, and Jordan Duncan, a Marine veteran, pleaded guilty to weapons charges. Neither men have received their sentences.
Fucking white people.
Collins was the leader of the neo-Nazi group, which communicated through the now defunct web forum Iron March.
Defunct. Fucking white people. I'll tell you what.
This motherfucker. Okay, so we were talking about World War II vets earlier because Unsubscribed podcast had a 98 and 99-year-old World War II vets on there. It was an amazing episode. If you don't ever watch Unsubscribed, go watch it. It's amazing. Those two guys, Don Graves, he was a Marine infantryman on Iwo Jima, and Al Chatwin, who was in the Navy. Crazy stories that those guys told. Anyways, that generation fought to get rid of fucking Nazis and the shit that they did. So please, someone please tell me where guys that wore a similar uniform to us, that swore to defend the Constitution just like we did, are trying to bring back the ideals of Nazi beauty. Are you like?
Yeah.
It's that scene. What was it? Fucking Naked Gun, where everybody does the whole face slap or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like, you deserve way more than 10 years in prison just for that. You know, like your grandfather probably died fighting Nazis, and your dumbass is trying to bring them back. You fucking moron.
Fucking white people. I tell you what.
Dude, like what the
I can't say that enough. Like I say it all the time, but fucking white people.
like
Jesus
I
Christ.
don't understand people that run around with their Nazi paraphernalia. Now, look, there are some outlaw clubs that use like the SS and things as part of their that was started in the 50s and 60s because it was used as a way to be counterculture and scare the normies. Right? So I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is people like this.
Yeah.
A modern day SN.
The higher learning motherfuckers.
Like, fuck, man. You know, if you're running around with Nazi shit, I see you as an idiot, just like everybody that runs around with all their Confederate flag shit.
Yeah.
Why are we Americans celebrating and trying to bring back the motherfuckers that lost?
Yep.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
You know, these are the same idiots that'll say things like, I don't like it when insert colored person here, brown, black, whatever you want to do, waving around their country flag. You need to go back to your country because this is America. Hey, dummy, the Confederate flag isn't an American flag.
Right.
The Nazi flag isn't an American flag.
Right.
Hello, Bueller.
Yeah.
Fucking morons. Like, I don't get it. And then to make a light of it, they're Marines. Those motherfuckers eat colorful crayons. Color should not be a problem in their life.
Right.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like,
yeah.
Why?
You know, it's like,
why?
So we're sitting around our clubhouse and we're like, how can we impose our white power? Let's turn off the power.
Yeah. To make it dark. There's messaging, baby. Messaging. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, let's put more lights on to make it more white. Not take and turn the lights off to make it darker. Like, on. Like, you're so fucking stupid you can't even understand the messaging in that. You know what I mean? Like, you fucking idiot. Plus, you're trying to do it in Idaho. Are you really fucking impacting in Idaho? I get it. Other white people.
You're fucking, yeah.
Like, if you told me you were going to go to Atlanta and do it, okay. I could kind of understand it at that point.
Right.
You know, there's a much larger black population in Atlanta than there is in the whole state of Idaho. Or it said the surrounding areas. Guess what? Eastern Washington, not real diverse.
Right.
Utah, not real diverse. Yeah. Montana, not real diverse. Like,
Bro.
a series of the whitest fucking states in the union.
Well, you know, it's one of those things like, we're going to test this in Idaho, and then if it works, we're going to take it to Chicago and Memphis.
Guess what? It didn't even work in fucking Idaho, you morons.
Fucking idiots.
Like, if that...
Fucking idiots.
I just... This is why I could never be a racist, because I'm not so fucking stupid to follow dumbass ideas like this. You know what I mean? Like, my family was originally from Germany. In the early 1700s is when they came over. Okay. So just because my family's from Germany doesn't mean my goofy ass is going to go around fucking spouting the teachings of Adolf Hitler, who was a fucking moron anyhow.
Yeah.
Like,
and my family's from fucking Great Britain, and I don't drink tea.
Pinkies up, bitches. Pinkies up. Look, if you're a racist, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
If you're an idiot who wants to bring back the Confederacy or neo-Nazis or whatever the fuck moronic bullshit you want to do, you're an idiot. Hey, there's a reason why most video games, the Nazis are the bad guys. Guess what? They're fucking bad guys.
Yeah.
And not bad meaning good. They're bad meaning bad.
Oh, that was a song.
Uh,
That Run DMC.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Because it was Peter Pan, Peter. Come on,
Peter
bro.
Piper picked a pecker.
Yeah, but what's the name of the
Run,
song?
run, rhyme.
What's the
Humpty Dumpty fell
what's
down.
the name of the song though? It's
Jack me nimble, me nimble. And he was quick.
hold on. I was listening to it on the way up here. That's what I'm trying to say. What's the name of this? It's just Peter. Okay. I thought there was something else to it, but it's just Peter. Because but
Peter.
no, look, check it out. That was the currently played song as I was pulling in your driveway.
I mean, see.
So, fuck you if you're an idiot who tries to be a neo-Nazi. Fuck you if you're an idiot that tries to bring back the Confederacy because the South will rise again. Fuck you if you're a racist. Fuck you if you're a military member that buys into that bullshit. Fuck you if you're so fucking stupid you don't even understand the messaging in your stupidity. I'm going to use my white power to turn the power off to make everything dark when I don't want dark around because I want white power. Fucking morons, man. The only thing, you know what? These idiots aren't even as dumb as the Dave Chappelle skit where he was a black white supremacist.
I mean,
Fucking, oh my God.
until next time.
Fucking white people.